Yeah, you're good. You're quite better get closer to the, because I see you moving back.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, go. Hello and welcome to the Property Podcast with your hosts Rebecca and Ruth.
Today we're going to be talking about whether you should go with management, our personal experiences, or see if you can go without management and manage your portfolio properties yourself. So for us, this we started with our own. We managed our properties for ourselves, and we thought it was really important to understand how the whole process works before you hand it off to somebody else, because ultimately, whether or not you do have management, if the management did anything wrong, the responsibility and liability will always lie with the landlord themselves.
Yeah, it's the same with business as well. It's understanding how things work before you delegate, and that was like a big thing that we learned. Obviously, I think if we went back in time, we'd probably repeat the same thing again, but maybe less years.
Yeah, we'll do it faster, but then you don't know what you don't know, do you?
Exactly.
But we're at a point now where we do have management, and because we understand how to manage, it's more we're managing our management. So you're never totally hands-free. You need to check in and just make sure things are aligning. Like, we still know exactly when our tenancies are due to end, and we will check in with our management just to be sure.
Yeah, check that the right payments being made.
Yeah, like verify that the rents have changed and risen with inflation or adjusted with the market, and that they've already scheduled somebody to move in, and we just keep checking in with them with who that tenant is that they have moving in, and that it's all going smoothly. So it is still very, we're leveraging off of management now, which is amazing, but you're still a part of the management, and just be aware that it's always going to be a responsibility as the landlord at the end of the day if anything were to go wrong. So you're always going to need to sort of keep an eye on things regardless. But we're on really good terms with all our management.
Yeah, you need to have great communication with management.
Yeah. So like I said, we were managing our own HMOs. They were individual room-let HMOs initially, and that was a steep learning curve. So one source of information that really helped with the whole process and making sure that we were up to legislation and making sure we were providing the right information was the NRLA website, which is the National Residential Landlord Association.
So if you're a landlord,
we really advise you sign up to that.
It keeps you up to date with up-to-date information about being a landlord and the regulations, and it provides you with templates. AST templates.
ASTs are assured short hold tenancy templates, which is the standard tenancy agreement used for regular residential letting.
And you're able to get discounts for kitchens and like there's loads of like great discounts for lots of different companies that would be really beneficial. So you pay for a membership yearly, and it's worth it, absolutely. And you get also advice from people who you can call up and ask for advice if you're having difficulty with tenants. So that's you get a lot for the amount that you pay as a subscription.
So we look to the NRLA for all their sort of legally correct information, and they show you how to go through a step-by-step sort of course of action when it comes to vetting a tenant, just doing reference checks for the tenant, where to put the deposit scheme. You can, I think with NRLA, I'm not sure if you do anymore, but I think you can get a discount with protecting deposits. Sometimes you have to pay a small fee per deposit protection. The NRLA is a very good resource to use to make sure that you are compliant with the laws and everything when it comes to renting to a tenant yourself. It was a lot of work. Once the properties were ready, we had to... Oh, it's a lot of work. So you have to create... This is why we value our management highly. Especially when you've got, like, once you've grown a portfolio, it's really hard to keep on top of all of the tenancies. So it's good to have someone dedicated or a company dedicated to running that part of your business for you.
Yeah.
Because what is involved is you have to now create the listing, make it an appealing listing, take some nice photos to put it onto the listing.
Comparing the market prices to price right for your room let or the full house.
Yep. Figure out your pricing, and then
managing the tenants. Genuinely managing the tenants.
Yeah, it's just like getting listing them on all the different platforms. I think you can use certain softwares or interfaces that mean it automatically posts on lots of different platforms, like
we didn't have that
and stuff.
back.
No, we didn't.
We didn't know about it. So,
well, for roomlets, what we used the most was Spare Room and Open Rent, but mostly Spare Room because their website was pretty good at managing like an inbox of messages. And then you'd have
people used to put it on Gumtree as well, but sometimes it was a bit dodgy.
Facebook Marketplace, and then people got angry on Facebook Marketplace. They're like, I don't know, it became.
Did you have someone once try to contact you just to meet up with you?
Yeah. So if you're a woman doing it, I think there is a law. I can't remember. It was about a letting agent who did get violated during yeah. Do you remember? No, that was when we were doing our course. This lady was doing a viewing.
Yeah.
So if you are not feeling, if you want an extra layer of security, whenever I did a viewing or whenever Ruth did a viewing, we would always let the other person know when that viewing was taking place, and always have your phone on you.
Yeah.
Or even just have one of us wait outside in the car.
It was our mentor, because we were like young ladies at the time. He was like, you need to make sure that you have someone even come with you, even if it was like a man come with you,
because you are just meeting randomers off the internet.
Yeah.
And if you did market yourself on Facebook Marketplace, or you have to put some sort of, like, there's your profile picture or something somewhere, then you might attract people who don't have the best intentions.
So the vetting process now is so different.
Yeah. So be really careful if you are doing the viewings yourself. Also, if there's tenants already in the house and you don't know what frame of mind they're in. Unfortunately, we've had a scenario where we had a letting agent come into the house and one of the tenants were going through a mental health crisis.
They were drinking heavily, weren't they?
Yeah, and they were heavily drunk. So that's not a comfortable situation to be in. But I think that's another point, really, isn't it? It's not. Humans are complex, and it's not that straightforward. So you have to factor these like random circumstances in mind. Actually, we were doing a viewing not that long ago, remember? And we were viewing a flat that was in a state of requiring modernization, and the agent was sharing the craziest stories that she's had doing viewings, and she said one of them was opening a door, even though the whole household knew that somebody was coming to rent a room. She opened the door and one of the tenants was passed out half naked with their bottom just like out. You could encounter anything. But just be careful. So you have to manage the communication with the tenants, and then usually people like to view outside of working hours, which is a little annoying.
Which was hard when we were also running a different business and you're exhausted and you just want to go home, eat your dinner, but you've got to work around the times that other people around their work times as well.
And weekends.
Weekends.
That was annoying because you are also going to get several people who just don't turn up.
Yeah.
You're going to have a lot of people who are saying they're going to come and they're like really late, or they just don't turn up. Yeah.
Or they just as a no-show.
Yeah, it's just a no-show. Yeah. And then you feel like you've wasted your time.
Another example is, I don't know if I said this before, but another example is when a boiler breaks down and then you've got to rush over on was it Christmas Day? Or it was like around Christmas and we had to buy oil. We have to buy these little
Oil
heaters,
heaters,
to be able to
mini
make sure that our
heaters.
tenants were, I think we
Warm.
rushed over in our PJs. Luckily, we were in the
We
same
didn't want them to be
city.
cold. It was freezing that winter.
Yeah,
But
but
it
we
was,
couldn't get anyone out because it was the holidays.
yeah.
And even the emergency numbers, emergency plumbers weren't even available.
No.
So, yeah, so that's what
Yep.
you have to do when you are self-managing.
Yeah. It was stressful to manage that situation. So that's why we really
Are so grateful.
grateful for our management team, because they've got a whole team of people dedicated to literally doing this as a job. And I think it depends what stage of your property journey you're
Yeah.
at, or like your life stage. Like if you enjoy doing those
That's
things,
a good point. Yeah,
and
your
it's
life.
worthwhile to you to keep that money in your pocket and perform these tasks that maybe are high stress or a little bit risky, especially if you're perhaps a younger lady,
Depending on the strategy as well. Yeah.
then it might be worth it for you. But if you're looking to get into property because you want time and location freedom, then it is worthwhile.
And you want to make it as passive as you can, then like paying for management is really like the best option.
Yeah. But I totally understand how people would like to manage themselves. If you are generally in the location and you have some certain skills and you're really good at people management, then why not?
And it's a great purpose as well.
Yeah. And I mean, also, like on average, we pay our management about $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
That could have stayed in our pocket. Yeah, we would rather
have, like, it allows us the mental space to be able to focus on pursuing other businesses, other passions personally. And also our main goal now is to just focus on acquiring private financing and continuing to grow our portfolio. And we wouldn't have the mental capacity to be able to do all of the managing, which, you know, I'm so grateful that we were able to experience that. And I think everyone should, if they can, really should experience managing at some point, just so that they can go, it isn't for me and I know why.
Yeah. Or it is.
And
I'm better off because I get to keep that money in my pocket. So I think it's investing, or like how you operate your business, is a very personal choice. So we're not really saying yay or nay, like either way is wrong. It's totally up to you. And we will always rave about management because of how much we value our own.
But it's because we've experienced managing. So this is why we see the value in it so much. And that's why we think, okay, we could have put that in our pocket, but we see how much value it really is, and how it helps us, how it's systemized and allowed us our time back. And our goal is the time back. And by managing, we wouldn't, there just wouldn't be any time.
So the other great thing about getting property management is we do full management. So there's different levels of management, actually. You can get a property management company, and we used to do this, and they just source the tenant for you, and they handle the deposits and setting up their rent for you.
They take the first a cut of the first month's rent.
Yeah. So that's one really good way about it. If you'd rather like someone just found the tenant and then you manage from there on.
You didn't want to be doing viewings on the weekends or in the evenings, and that's like a great way to cut that time, get your time back in that way. And then they do all of that process and you just move them in.
That's a really good way to do it if you want to do it yourself. Or we just do full management. So that means that they literally, well, it's kind of in the name, isn't it? They do everything.
But they'll send you an email to confirm who they vetted, and then you just say yes or no, and then they'll carry on the process.
Yeah, and they coordinate all the repairs,
sort out
deduct it usually from the rent.
Yeah.
There's very little for us to actually do. It's usually just give the go ahead on things, and like I say, just double check that they've actually listed a property like that when it's due for a new tenancy.
We'll say though, because we have been, there is a point where you sometimes can be neglectful, because you know that it's running so well that sometimes you can forget that to check the rent. And I think that was a good learning curve for us.
You manage your management, because we had one of our properties somehow we
We
missed
were
it. I don't know
missing
why
rent
we
for
missed
several
this.
months, but we
didn't notice.
we didn't notice, and that was our fault.
It was several months of not paying rent, and then we had to double check this with the agency, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry,"
It was like $5,000,
and like sent $5,000, and was like,
this is when like you overtrust your management. Like, of course, we are very grateful to them, and they do such a good job. But at the end of the day, it is your investment, and
your
that was
responsibility
a
to make
little
sure.
bit of what's the word?
Reminder, it's not a set it and forget it. Keep an eye on everything, but it's just like you're less involved directly, and it means that with our buy-to-let portfolio, we can check in on it, like, I would say about an hour to 2 hours a month.
Not really
Not
even.
Yeah. So that's why it's easy to forget it.
Yeah.
But don't forget it. The other great thing, if you build a portfolio, you can leverage off of the number of properties that you have by requesting favorable rates. So for buy-to-let agencies, for regular residential agencies that just have standard tenancy agreements, they usually ask, I would say it's like 10 to 12%.
Yeah.
But
depending on the area that you are in.
But the more properties that you have, you've got a negotiation power to be able to bring that number down. And I think that's another thing. Like Ruth and I are really not averse to putting in cheeky offers in anything.
If you don't ask, you don't get. And if you don't get, at least you tried.
Yeah. So you could be like, look, I've got more. I would say once you've got 3 properties, you could be like, hey, can we would you be open to dropping the fee by a couple of percentages or whatever, because we've got like, it would cost them more for you to move to somebody else because they've got more properties with you. So you can bargain with that, as well as they're more likely to say yes to you if you actually genuinely get on well with them. So we have a good relationship with our management companies. We send them Christmas presents and stuff. So we are on good terms, and we are easy landlords for them.
Yeah.
We aren't demanding, make it difficult for them to do their job, because
we let them do the job.
Yeah.
We don't let them do their job. It's just us just following up, checking in every so often. And we have had a comment in the past who've said that you've been really easy. we have actually been really easy.
Yeah, and they're more likely to want to help us if we have a genuine query or genuine concern. They're more likely to address our questions sooner because they know that we're not trying to be annoying. We're we don't make it difficult for them to do their job.
Yeah.
There is so we have serviced accommodation as well, and that is a different type of management, and we didn't even try with that level of management. I think we both we
learned how to do that management. We learned how to understand how to do that management, and went, no,
that's way too much.
It's way too way too much. And so we did our due diligence and we did have not a great management, won't name who they are, but it was awful, just awful.
Service accommodation management providers were far and few at the time.
Yeah.
And there was like one big one that was like advertising very well, basically, and we went with them, and it was the worst experience.
Oh my God, worse. They were leaving linen outside of the doors. Our neighbors were getting really upset. The cleaners were awful. Like, just so I can't. It's just so awful.
Just can't. It was so bad.
We have some amazing.
Our service accommodation management now is fantastic. We have 2. And we have each of them are based in the location of where those properties are. So we do have one in Bristol, and we have one in Wales.
Yeah.
And the one in Bristol, we got on really, really well with them. They're really helpful. It's a small team of people. But regarding like the requirements for service accommodation management, oh my gosh. So you have to take we provide the photos for those listings because we're able to get really nice photos of them because my partner is a professional photographer.
Yeah.
But so you get the photos, you have to make the listing beautiful. Use channel managers that distribute the listing onto lots of different online travel agencies like Airbnb and Booking.com. And then you have to manage the guests as they come in. And it's a 24-hour service.
Managing the cleaners to come in and when the guests have left. And yeah, it's just it is a full-on business.
You can't you address the concern pretty much immediately. And it's very intensive, like that level of service. So these types of management agencies charge usually
20%,
15 to 20, 25%.
Yeah.
Because of
Sometimes
how intensive
even 30,
it is.
yeah. I mean, I don't blame them.
No, they deserve it.
Yeah.
Because, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But they also help like handle disputes. Like that's the thing. It's so much work. But then I'm not like, I'll put my hands up and be like customer or like any, like I don't like disputes. I feel super uncomfortable. It's not what I'd rather pay someone else to handle that.
Naturally, we're a little bit more introverted.
Yeah,
just naturally. And I meant, what do you call it? Extroverted introvert. Is that it? Is that the right words? Anyway, I don't like confrontation. No. Generally.
And they have to deal with a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you can earn a lot of money managing service accommodation properties. Like if you want to keep, that's a lot.
Sometimes we see those invoices and we're like,
that could have been us.
That's a lot of money.
There's a lot of money, but
I'd rather they had it because
they do a really good job.
They do a great job and we don't hear anything.
Exactly.
Or barely anything.
The only thing we'll ever hear, like it's compared to the rest of our property portfolio with service accommodation, you do get more communication from your management saying that maybe a light switch broke or might need another pillow. Or
do you approve maintenance coming to check this?
Yeah.
Oh, this guest
said that the bin's broken.
The fire alarm went off last night and wants a bit of a discount. Do you approve this amount of discount? So there is that's
a level of communication that you have, but you're just giving the go ahead.
Yeah,
which is really great.
Yeah. So you can, again, if you have a good relationship with your SA management and a strong portfolio with them, then you can again negotiate a little bit less if you want to. It's always worth it, isn't it? Because everybody wins at the end of the day.
It's not about you taking all the money for yourself. Like you have to see it as with any of your investments, you're running a business and you have to have multiple people in this business to be able to make it run smoothly. And if you know that your skill set is not in people management, in our case, then you need to delegate to be able to make the investment run as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
And like, there's no shame.
Yeah. Know what you're doing this all for. Like, what is your lifestyle? What's your goal at the end of this? Did you want a new job?
And if you
did, then go for it.
Yeah.
If you didn't,
it's better than like what you were doing before and you want this to be your full-time role. We know other people who do invest and they choose to manage themselves and they love it. And like it suits their lifestyle and each to their own.
But if you're in it because you want an investment and your idea of investment means that you are financially and time free, then consider giving someone else that job and paying them to do it.
Yeah, it's no different to having a wealth manager that manages your pension or your stocks and shares, your index fund. Like there is a service provider that manages that for a reason.
Yeah. And if you do manage yourself, I do advise finding ways to manage your tenants' expectations and accessibility to you to maintain like your mental health.
There needs to be a clear boundary.
Yeah. So it's just if basically keep a phone aside that is specifically for your business so that you don't have, especially if you have a sizable portfolio, people calling you on your personal phone all the time. If you have a business phone, you can delegate what hours of the day you're actually able to commit to looking at your business phone. And that means that you're not going to feel overwhelmed at the end of the working day if people are calling you for emergency reasons. Because in honesty, a lot of emergency call outs aren't even emergency call outs.
We had that emergency call out with that lady who was called, she called a message that it's emergency because there was a spider in her room. There was a spider in her room.
She was like, can you come to my room and remove the spider, otherwise I can't sleep. I'm not your mum.
And then she had a police knock down the door. Oh yeah, it wasn't.
Emergencies aren't always emergencies. Some people like have a different idea of what
everyone's perception is different.
Yeah. But from a landlord perspective or a property management perspective,
and if it's the boiler that's broken down, something to do with electrics or something like very severe, where another tenant is causing another tenant harm, then that's
a police matter.
That's a police matter.
Call the police. There's not very much like your landlord could do. There's a limit to what you can do, and
also just because someone has said, "Oh, it's an emergency right now," it doesn't mean you need to drop everything. That was something that we had to learn. Where when we thought someone said, "Oh, something's an emergency," it was drop everything from what we were doing in our personal lives with family and friends and go, "Okay, now this is the priority. We need to fix this fast because we need to make sure that the tenants are happy." And now today, it's like actually we look at our letting agencies who look after our portfolio. Just because they've been contacted there and then doesn't mean, like, give them time, that emergency could be addressed the next day. It's not right that second. And that was a big learning curve.
Yeah, but like the way that a tenant or a guest might communicate it will make it sound like it's
in distress.
Yeah, distressing. And I think our inclination is like, okay, let's just fix this quickly because and that costed us our peace of mind, really, because
we didn't know how to we wanted to make sure that our tenants were always happy.
Yeah, we felt on call all the time. Yeah, and that wasn't a nice feeling.
No.
But now we pay other people to manage the situation way better than we would have done it.
And like we said,
just understand how to do it.
Yeah,
and manage your management.
And they deserve to get paid.
Yeah, you can also use software. Like, times have changed and made it so much easier for people to manage by themselves if they want.
You just need software.
You can have software, yeah. Like Coho is one that a lot of HMO people use.
Yeah, I think that's it, really.
Yeah, that's it. More. I'm sure there's more, but we don't use them.
Well, there's like for service accommodation, there's Avivo.
Oh, well, we keep an eye on our bookings through Avivo and Uplisting.
So if you have service accommodation, then you want to be making sure that you have full transparency in being able to see the bookings. This is like, you do not want to...
Don't accept a management that isn't transparent with you.
No, you need to be able to watch and make sure that you can see that they're bringing in bookings, or, this is the way that we have great communication with our service accommodation management, is because we do ask them how they are making sure that we are getting repeat bookings, or how they are making sure that they're bringing in the bookings, since we're not personally doing it ourselves. And at the end of the day, service accommodation is a hospitality business, and you need to make sure that you're bringing in customers.
Yeah, they make recommendations to how we can improve our listing.
Exactly.
Whether aspects of the property need
there needs to be a dialogue.
If we're running low on plates and stuff, whether they can go and get things out for us just to make things better. And the online travel, the channel manager we have access to, we can't amend anything in it, but it gives us a live view of all the bookings that have come in, and know like the names of who are staying in our properties, how many nights they're staying,
and how much
the
they're
price.
paying.
Yeah. What their booking price is, and the management fee is like all figured out in there, and we can see like a day-to-day schedule of how our properties are performing,
which is really great, so that if we needed to enter the property, then we can make sure that we can personally see that there's vacancies, and we're able to go and we don't have to keep pestering our management to keep saying, oh, can we please make sure that we can block this part of the calendar so that we can pop in and do so and so. We just say, it looks like it's blocked, can we want to go in because we've already checked ourselves.
And it also means that if we can see that the property is not booked up for a period of time, we can address that concern directly with the agent and be like, well, how are we going to make this better? Is this property not good? Or it's sort of, you can evaluate whether or not you feel like
you can make adjustments.
Or whether you feel like that agency is actually doing their job very well, to be blunt. But there's lots of options out there now. So it's good to always manage your management, keep an eye on the performance of your properties. That's your job, even if you delegate to management. But we hope that you
got a lot of we hope that this was insightful, and that if there's anything that we may have missed, or there's anything else that you want to know that we may have missed out, then don't hesitate to drop us a DM in our Instagram.
We hope you found these tips useful. We've learned a lot along the way about our skills with management and our experiences with different management.
And just to recap, we just want to say, if you can manage in the beginning, then you should, because it's valuable education, self-education.
Yes.
So
know how it works.
We see it as it's a rite of passage to being able to then have actual management.
Yes. And sharing is caring. Give back to the economy.
Give back to the economy. You're helping to everyone wins in making money, and it's not just about you, and that's what we love.
But ideally, I know some people will use management that are individuals who manage on behalf of somebody else, but we personally prefer business to business, because you're not worried about an individual. You've got like a full team who are dedicated to what it is that you need to do, and you can negotiate better prices that way as well. So
and you know that the experience is there, and then if there was to be a turnover of staff for any reason, then you know that that's not going to jeopardize your investment.
No. So if there are any questions you have for us, send us regarding management, or actually anything property, send us a DM on Instagram at Honest Property Sisters. And we really look forward to seeing you in the next podcast. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
La 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 la.